So with that, I'd love to jump in and pick your brain a little bit more, John, and Nehul, thanks again for joining us. So the first first topic I'd like to drill down onto is around the partner ecosystem itself and the partner types that vendors need to consider, as part of their go-to-market strategy for SaaS offers. So, most vendors don't have a greenfield site. They will have existing products, and they'll be transitioning to SaaS for all kinds of good reasons, like valuations, etc. But Nehul, if I could start with yourself. So, what are the partner types that you kind of, most commonly see being leveraged by vendors in this new world? If you could share maybe some insights on that, please.
Sure. First and foremost, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the audience, right? Wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, John, Kenneth, Brenda, and the Channel Mechanics team for having me once again on what I really believe is a great topic to talk around on, right? Kenneth, to answer your query, right? I mean, SaaS is kind of like a ocean, right? You've got different types of solution offerings. You could have fast-moving consumerized offerings such as CRM, collaboration tools, or you could have enterprise, very specific use case-driven products like banking software or even cybersecurity solutions and stuff like that. So you've got a huge plethora of offering which are now coming up from a SaaS standpoint. And each one has a very different approach point within the customer organization. So if I had to even take or allude to what John was talking about in the previous slide in terms of the types of buyers that have entered, right? When you look at a SaaS offering, each one of them could be an influencer for a SaaS deal or could be a buyer in their own rights. You could be selling a legal software to the legal team, marketing software, the marketing team, channel software to the channel team, right? Each one and they don't need at times the IT to step in to make that decision, the buying decision. So which means the partner landscape also needs to change, right, in the way it is to be done, because when we're doing on-prem, a large chunk of decision-making power was with the IT organization within the customer side. Today, you're seeing shadow IT come up, where these business decisions are being taken by the business users and not the IT alone. So which is where you look at, depending on the type of solution, you look at referral partners who just introduce you to the customer way, right? We talk about consulting partners who've built domain knowledge, who've built practices around certain solution areas or certain domain practices, whether it's BFSI, manufacturing, right, BPOs, KPOs, and they are the ones who help drive some of these sales. We talk about service providers. Telcos are creating cloud marketplaces. They're offering cloud SaaS solutions to their customers and subscribers. You've got overall marketplaces, right? And I can see one of the examples being given out here, which is the Ingram Micro Cloud Marketplace, but then there are quite a few others which are there. And each one of them could be relevant based on the solution that we're trying to sell. So it's not just that we choose one or two. The earlier way we would have a two-tier, single tier. We just have one type of partner who could get us into the customer base. Today, the landscape has changed, and influencers again are a new breed of customers or players that are entering, where they just influence, or it's based on their recommendations or what they're talking about in the market. The others want to go and invest into that same SaaS offering. So I think the whole landscape has changed, and that needs a partner program from a SaaS pro, dependent on the type of offering that they have, would need to consider one or all of these players, and it cannot just be we'll just take one or two and that's it, right? That would be my
Okay, so no, that's great. No, yeah, really good insight. So John, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just add 2 points, Kenneth. Agree with exactly what Nehul has said. The one thing that's very clear, and this is only a subset of the partner types that are operating in the particularly SaaS world, is that we've now added the complexity of choice dilemma to vendors. So vendors now have got this complexity to decide which partner types are the best fit for their particular offering and go to market. And they may use different partners in different industry sectors, as well as different partners to reach different geographies. So we often talk about the complexity of choice that the buyers have, and it's increasing every day because there's multiple solutions for every business problem you want to solve. But there's definitely this increasing complexity around partner choice. And that, as we see downstream, will significantly influence your partner programs and how then you streamline those as well. The second comment that I would say is, and this is coming from my background of working with service providers like telcos, as well as the global system integrators. Global system integrators and service providers absolutely love SaaS offerings because their world is services. They've really struggled and found it difficult to sell products, and for a couple of reasons. One is product is not really aligned with their business model. So if you think about a product, it's typically product sell, buy once, and maybe deploy it for 5 years, and you get a particular margin. It's not really the core sort of way that service providers generate money. So fundamentally think about the transition is from a product company to a services company. And when you keep that transition in mind, it is much easier to have conversations with service providers or service mindset partnerships in a SaaS world than it has traditionally been if you're a pure product type play company. So think about very carefully, the big transition is from a product play to a service play, and they're very different business models.
If I may add a point out here, Kenneth, right? And I was looking at the kind of different players we're showing on the slide, right? And there's something that I tell a lot of my clients, right? Especially when they're providing SaaS offering. All these players, the channel partners that they're working with to look at to resell or position their solutions could be customers themselves. That's one of the biggest gap areas I've seen, right? Where the SaaS vendors do not sell to their partners itself, and they are one of the biggest consumers, right? Whether they're looking for collaboration tools, marketing tools, HR solutions, whichever way, if they're selling this, because it's on the cloud today, they can actually become consumers themselves. And that's something that, I would, because we're just talking on this subject, I think it's something that should be out there, and they should consider ensuring they have a model around for that also.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's kind of see that in our world as well. A lot of the vendors we work with are either on SaaS or transitioning or have some of their offer on SaaS. And kind of when we started out this journey 8 or 10 years ago, we'd have fairly, a 2 or 3 type partner model. It's really now when you add in all the different types, I see in the region of 12 to 15 different partner types, which in turn drives vendors to really think about their program. If you how do you build all of that into your ecosystem? How does your program take into account that I need to have some kind of a referral program for influencers or referral partners? How do I pay my consulting partners? So it really changes the game in terms of how you go to market, through the channel with these different partner types, which in turn influences who are now the decision makers. And John, you touched on it on the intro, which I think it's worth reiterating, that the buying pattern has really changed as a result of SaaS. What used to be very much an IT buying pattern in our technology world, it used to be almost 80% of all decisions were made by the IT organization. I think that's completely switched on its head now to 80% made by the business. So it's important that as the audience is kind of listening to these points, that's where the partner types have really, that's what creates that differentiation, I suppose. So, okay, no, that's really good. So I suppose just to wrap up this piece of it, is there any, Nehul or John, anything you wanted to say about, maybe the inverse partners that don't necessarily work well in the SaaS space? Any quick comments before we move to a poll?
If I give a view on that, Nehul, if you want to follow up. So the one and I wouldn't say they're not necessarily working well, but Brenda, even if you shared the previous slide again, a lot of people are trying to figure out marketplaces. You may not be able to go back, Brenda, apologies. So marketplaces are very new, and they really have come from the consumer world. You know, we're used to, you know, downloading apps on our phone and devices. And unfortunately for some vendors and some partnerships, marketplaces become table stakes where you must list your application on that particular marketplace. And I've done that for a couple of technology companies from the US. And that was table stakes. We did not get any sales or business from that. It did give us a little bit of brand awareness. And the reason for that is it was very much very complex enterprise systems that we were selling. So you couldn't download our application and get it to run or run a POC off that marketplace. So again, just go mindfully into making decisions around marketplaces. The vendor or the provider that you work with, you know, let's say you're underpinned by one of the big cloud platforms, they may require you to get onto their marketplace to allow you into their co-sell program, but the marketplace may not be the sales engine that you think it might be. So go mindfully into that decision.
True. And if I may add a point to that one, to address your question, Kenneth, dependent on the type of solution you are, if you're a domain-specific offering, try and identify a partner who has subject matter expertise. It's very, very critical, right? Because most of the times, easy to get partners, right? Saying, okay, we don't really need to invest on infrastructure XYZ, just go sell or do referral. But sometimes even those referral partners can do a lot of harm because they don't understand the domain you're in, and which means they will not position your solution appropriately, creating a kind of a misleading commitment or misleading positioning with the customer base, which can, you know, which will take you longer now to retract and then position it the right way. So it's essential to understand what their domain expertise is for some of these solutions, and then create those, then go and get those partners.